Mandalorian and Grogu on
Grogu, yeah.
At this point, I mean, who even cares? But like, yeah, man, it's correct me if I'm wrong. Big movie announcements like this are traditionally made at things like Star Wars Celebration, because that's when they line up all their upcoming slate of releases, and they could really build up the hype for it and get a good audience. This really felt like, quick, just get something on social media now. Like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a Mandalorian movie coming. Okay, sure, that's totally believable.
What do you think about it? Are you more excited for that, or for it to be a show?
So excitement, yeah, excitement's a strong word. Okay, so I'll be fair on this one, right? I am on the meta level, just from the production side of things, it's kind of interesting that they managed to get Jon Favreau back and that he's doing a movie. And were it in any other studio, I would say, well, he's got a good chance of producing something halfway decent here. Within the context of Disney and the framework that they've created, the environment they've created, I don't think he's got any chance of producing anything good, because I think this will be constrained by all of the usual rules that come with like making anything within the Disney umbrella. You know, it's going to have loads of nostalgia baiting. It's going to have loads of crappy humor that probably it doesn't need. It's probably going to have a strong female companion who's going to be better than the Mando at everything. It's going to kill it. And on a purely conceptual, creative level, I am so fucking over these two characters. I don't care about the Mandalorian. I never cared about Grogu. So I'm just going to go with Muller's name for it now. I love it. Yeah, man, he was just there to sell merchandise. That's all he was. He's not a character in the normal sense because he doesn't have a personality. And the Mandalorian is done. Like, his character arc's done. And he never had much of a personality to begin with. And I don't even think that a movie is a good setting for him. You know, he was at his best... And this is why season 1 of The Mandalorian did as well as it did. Doing episodic adventures, relatively small, low-level, self-contained stuff. But they finally got their hands on something that was successful and that pleased the fans. And so they tried to ramp it up and expand it and create this big overarching story that just wasn't supported by the structure of the show. And they're just going to take that to the nth degree with a movie. They're going to try and make it big and epic, and there's going to be like massive confrontations, probably with Thrawn or someone else. And it's just too much. It's not going to work. So yeah, that's my extremely long-winded answer to say no. I'm not that excited about it.
Let me ask you something. If you were to go and like, let's say they were like called you up, what would you do to fix it? What would you do to write the story? Like, hey, here's freaking $20 million. We want you to do this story, Mando movie 4, basically.
I would say no, thank you. I mean, like, off the top of my head, you
wouldn't take it somewhere cool, like where would you want it to go?
It would have to be to get him back to being a bounty hunter, to take on some bounty that seems initially pretty easy on the surface, and it leads him to like a bigger, like, organized crime ring or something that he has to take down. That's like a threat to like some local people. Like, maybe make it into some kind of like Seven Samurai type thing. I think there's plenty of Western influences, or you know, the Western genre particularly, that you could draw on with this kind of thing. So I would keep it low level, make him be a bounty hunter again, make him be a badass again, minimize Grogu. I'd probably write him out of it.
You kill Grogu. That's what you do. That's how you fix it.
You kill Grogu.
Absolutely,
because he is
kill that little bitch.
They're never gonna kill him
because he's so stupid. What they have done to him is so retarded, because he's overpowered as hell, but only when they happen to need him to be. He knows how to do this when he happens to know how to need to do this. Yeah. He understands everybody when he needs to understand. He's a 50-year-old baby who it's dumb. It's stupid. Kill him. Get him out.
I would want the goblin. I would want kill him. I would want the tone to be serious. I would want this to be a serious adventure. And Grogu just precludes the possibility of that, because he's just there to do dumb, goofy, cutesy stuff, and it just ruins it.
What's funny from my POV, like, having any thought about what kind of place we would take it, I didn't even entertain Grogu being in it. I was like, no, that's not happening. I was going to say, like, it would be cool maybe to enter a world where Mando is now relatively well-known and celebrated, and then he takes on a project that he's overconfident with, and not only like fails it miserably, maybe loses a bit of his tech, gets seriously wounded, but also a lot of people die because he doesn't uphold his end of the exchange sort of thing. And the movie's just about him being humbled a bit, understanding that he's gone way too. His fucking life has been insane. He went from being like a nobody bounty hunter to one of the most known and interesting characters in the world, collecting items from all the most famous people in the world. And just now that like he got over in his head and he, you know, bring him down a bit, have him go through something that's real difficult instead of fake difficult, like where he's crouching and loads of people are shooting at him, just all bouncing off, and then someone comes in and says, "I got you, buddy," and then they work together. That sort of stuff. Like I'm bored at this point.
Yeah.
But like, remember he got captured at the end of Mando season 3 and it meant nothing because they didn't strip him of his armor. They just left him to keep all of it. And the Grogu saved him in a robo suit.
Oh, I hated that, dude. That was literally like when what was it, Iron Man, or no, Hulk was in the Hulk. Was it the Hulkbuster suit? No, not
Hulkbuster suit.
Yeah. I'm like, can we just have him like you did in the trailers with actual Hulk? Like, this is so stupid. Why are you literally putting down his powers to put him in some mechanical machine when Grogu could have probably like? And here's the other thing is that Yoda said for 800 years have I trained Jedi when he was 900. So that means
he was a Jedi master at 100 in old continuity.
Yeah, so then I'm thinking like, is Grogu about to go through some like Pokemon evolution like into Charmander or something, and within, you know, like the next few years, or like what's the deal? Because like there's no way he becomes a Jedi master in 50 years from now. Well, 45 years.
They've written themselves into a corner with this character because his entire appeal is predicated on him being cute. Like, he can't speak, he just makes these little baby noises and he does goofy things. The moment you try and move him on, which they desperately need to do, you're right about that. They would have to like take him to the next like evolutionary step,
make him
so
a
he's
teenager.
able to start to. Yeah, they won't do that though, because then he would immediately lose his appeal. He wouldn't be cute anymore, and he would just be another like Yoda character, Yoda light, and they can't do anything with him, so they're stuck with him. This is why I would just get rid of him. I would like either have him go off on another adventure or stick him in a fucking food blender or something. Just get rid of him out of the story.
They had the chance. They separate at the end of season 2, and you have Mando doing his shit for X amount of time, and then there's that time where he's in need of someone's help, and it's like, you need a Jedi, and it's like, well, let's go back and see Grogu, and he's fucking grown up. It was a different idea at that point. Because you're like, starting the show off with the baby is a choice, but you know, like the Wolf and Cub stories sort of stuff, like you usually have a kid that can develop, have an arc, bring a spark to the person. It's like, it's not like it's impossible with a baby, but like they've run it dry. There's nothing else they can do with Grogu and Mando together.
They did it way too fast. They went through this entire story arc way too fast. They rushed through it. The first season of Mandalorian should have been him doing different bounties and accomplishing different missions, the underbelly of the world here, out in some desert planet here, all around the galaxy, all to get more Beskar and to assemble parts of his armor. That's what the whole thing should have been. And throughout that, you're getting those glimpses, you're getting those flashbacks of him as a kid, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe by the end of Mando season 1, then you introduce this new element. It's like, what does he do? Season 2 could be about them and him trying to decide what to do, rather than rushing through it like they did. But then whatever happens at the end, when you do hold the Mando season 2 and the whole journey is about getting him back to the Jedi and getting him back to Luke Skywalker, you can't then erase that in one dog shit episode of Book of Boba Fett 7 months later. You know what I mean? That is why, to me, when you go back, if you do a rewatch of Mando season 2, it literally means nothing. It's just jangling keys, a bunch of cameos. Mando happens to run into every important person who's still living in the galaxy in a couple-week time period. And the journey that they go on, Mando's like giving up Grogu after getting attached to him, it means nothing.
Yeah.
So to me, if you're going to do a movie, I think you have to get rid of Grogu in some way. I don't know how you do that, but it should just be based on a bounty hunter doing bounty hunter things. And you put him in a position of having to choose between some different moral thing. Hey, I need to take care of these guys, but what about those innocent people? They might get affected. It's pretty simple. You've seen that done a million times, but it needs to get back to that.
They did that with season 2. It was perfect. The exit. Grogu was with Luke. Okay, he's going to go be with Luke for like the next however long. And then all of a sudden in Boba Fett, oh shit, he gets Ubered back.
That's where you can 100% tell where the studio got involved and just said, 100%. Like, well, we need him back.
Yeah,
like he's literally the only piece of merch that sells now. We need to get him back in the show.
Right, and it's like, Dude, what the like, how is that 2 years? Honestly, that was a 2-year gap that he was with Luke.
And it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
And Favreau has been completely off the mark with everything when in terms of the timeline, which is scary because him and Dave Filoni are the ones constructing this timeline. Dave Filoni gives his typical like mushmouth answer. Well, you know, it really just depends on what you think it is. You know, we don't really have any lines dedicated or drawn in the timeline yet. Right. Yeah. And whereas Favreau has said, well, it's somewhere between 2 years and 0 years, basically, that he was actually with Luke.
It is time. We know that.
Literally.
We got that confirmed.
I know. I was really like season 3 just really shit the bed, and it's like completely regressed the story. Like, I feel like season 3 should have been season 2, and then season 2 should have been season 3. Like, should have swapped places because the way it ended in season 2 was perfect. That was so dope. But you might disagree, but at least there was like so much story there.
So, I mean, seeing what's been done with season 3, what does that make you feel for the movie?
That they're probably going to get back on track, and they realize like, okay, this was shit.